All right, good evening, guys. How are y'all doing? I'm still battling a big time chest cold here, so you'll have to forgive me. Sniffles and all that good stuff. Sound check, please. Sound check 1, 2. Sound check, please. Can y'all hear me? Okay. I'm going to just go ahead and assume you guys can hear me. I'll go ahead and start off here. This is how the Bitcoin futures ended up today at the close. Oh, thanks, CC. Appreciate it. Anyway, this is how Bitcoin futures ended up today. We're still in this big time falling wedge right here. Okay, very clear and evident. You can see where it's going here. But even more interesting is, and I'll show it on the Coinbase chart when I get to it. But you can see the Bollinger Bands are getting really tight now, which obviously is part of the squeeze indicator. It's not all of it, but it's part of it. So everything is like, on the histogram, it's just everything's coming to a boil, right? So we're getting into a point where a decision is going to have to be made, in the near future. I'm not saying it's going to be tomorrow or Sunday or, even early next week, but we're getting close. The thing I'm waiting on is when I start seeing these little red dots that happen at the top of the histogram, that gives me the alert that I need to be really watching and paying attention. And I can, potentially make better calls based on where things are at. So right now we're still holding the 61.8 retracement right over here, okay? Just down below, and coincidentally where the lower Bollinger Band is where the 78.6 retracement is. So there's still a chance that it could dip down to there, get people panicking out, and then turn. I don't know that I'm ready to say that it's going to break out of this just yet, because it just feels to me like we could still go like below the lower Bollinger Band and then rocket back to the upside. So there's still a chance we come down into this, what is that, 6,500 area. But that's just a chance, right? It's not a given. So as long as we can stay above this and just consolidate, which it has been, then obviously we can go and make hopefully a higher high above this and break out of this and keep going. So I'll get better information on that Sunday night when the futures open. So now that it's closed, and obviously, you're looking at the 10 EMA right here. It's not breaking above it. That's kind of resistance. So we'll see how that plays out. So I'm going to switch over to the Coinbase chart. And so this is what we're going to have to watch for the next, and I'm going to change my pointer focus, but we're going to have to watch this for at least the next, until the futures open, right? Which is Sunday night. But basically what we've got, same sort of situation, right? Hanging around at the 61.8. The lower Bollinger Band on this one is actually at the 61.8. Okay? And so we're stuck between a 78.6 on the high side and a 61.8 on the low side. So things are very, very tight. Right? They're getting pinched. Something has to happen pretty soon, direction-wise, to get these Bollinger Bands spreading out, or, like you can see in the past, you go back and look at it, it doesn't stay tight for very long. And if it does, then, obviously it's just, there's no news, nothing's making it go one way or the other. But anyway, just something to keep an eye on over the weekend. That's kind of why we're not on red alert or anything like that. We're on yellow alert. But let's just keep an eye on this, right? Let's go look at, real quick while I'm doing it, let's go look at a weekly chart. And so this, I mean, you had the big long drop. We're basically just retracing this whole entire drop right here, right? So we're coming inside, and the 200-day moving average, or that's the 50-day moving average right here, is going to be resistance, right? So just keep in mind, if you do get a bounce on the daily chart, keep in mind of where resistance is going to be on the weekly chart. Okay? So if we do get that bounce, and we're at 7,200 right now, well, keep this in the back of your mind. The 10 EMA and the 50 EMA are right there at 7,800. Hey, Friesen, how you doing, buddy? So any move that comes up, just keep in mind that right there is going to be resistance. Okay? I doubt that it's just going to rocket right through it, but that's going to be resistance. Not to mention that you got a fib cluster just above at 8,000. So those are going to be real tough areas to get through. But we'll see how it plays out. You know, the only thing I will say about the weekly chart is we've got a little bit of a divergence on the stochastic RSI. So you can see over here where we had a low here, right? There's your low on the indicator. We've made a lower low, but a higher indicator on the weekly chart, right? So you can see that. Okay. Lower price, higher indicator. That's a bullish divergence. So again, I'm not saying that this is going to rocket higher like, 3,000 points in a day, but it could be the possible bottom right there. Okay? I mean, at least that's what I'm, hoping it is. So we'll see how it plays out. I mean, but still looks, it's still, to me, it looks like that could be the bottom. 6,600. So are we just coming down to kind of retest that area and then go higher? That's kind of the thinking. So that's Bitcoin on the weekly chart. Any questions? Hi, Abram. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for coming in. Okay, any questions on the Bitcoin chart? Okay, so we'll move on. I put a call out in the channel last night on XRP, right? And I'll show you my thinking behind this. Is you're not going to see it too much on a candle chart, but if you go to a line chart, things get a little clearer. Okay? So this, to me, looks like an inverted head and shoulders, right? Shoulder, head, shoulder. And so if I was to go on here and do it's pretty much the same, but let's do this. Let's just put that right there. Okay. So if it breaks the neckline, which is at 23, right? If it breaks that, then it's going to basically, the measured move is going to be from, you take the distance from the shoulder to the neck, or to the head, and then you project that from the breakout. Okay? So you're going to be looking up in this area, right? Right up in here, probably 25-ish, something like that. Not to say that it can't go higher, but conservatively speaking, you could just take your first profits at 38.2, which is basically where the 50 EMA is going to be, and that's going to be a tough moving average to get through, at least on the first try. Okay? So that's why I put the call out on that. So it should, I would think, hold this low. And not only that, but look where the fib cluster is. When it came down and made this low, 78.6 and 127.2. Those are really strong fib numbers to bounce off of or reverse off of. So I'm really confident in this trade. But again, it could go against us. So it's nothing's ever a given in this market. If it was, then we'd all be millionaires. But percentage-wise, it looks like a really good trade. Any questions on Ripple? And I think, what I'd like to see really is something like it breaks the 10 EMA, it comes up and tests the 20, pulls back a little bit and holds the 10 EMA, and then gets past all this resistance and then makes its way up into here. And who knows if it gets Momo behind it. And this, obviously Ripple's a Momo coin. So if people start getting excited about it, then it could eventually get up into the 25, 27 cent range, maybe even higher. So we'll see. But I like the chances that this is a potential bottom. Okay, any questions on Ripple? And so far, where we got in from last night, we're up on the trade, not much, but we are up. Stop loss is set fairly conservatively. I think I put it at 19.5 or something like that. So there's a little bit of room, Okay, any questions on either Bitcoin or Ripple? Okay, I'm going to go through these kind of quick, and if you have questions, just post them. Or if you have a chart request, post it in the channel. And Friesen, I'm going to tell you what, real quick. I know you wanted to see this. LPT, let me go over this one real quick because you requested that to me in private chat. So let's go ahead and pull it up. So nice long wick, right? That's bottom time, right? That just cleared out a bunch of stop losses of what that looks like right there. And now it's trying to reverse and go the other direction. So now you get people possibly that had stop losses here that got kicked out, and now they're chasing back into it. Or you have people that were short and potentially got the top and they're covering, and now that creates more buying pressure. So, let's do something like this. Let's throw some fibs on it. Let's go ahead and just do like from back in here to here. And let's see what we got. Yeah, let's throw on a 50. Yeah, it's already past the 50, so let's throw on a 61.8. All right, so there's one. So you could look at possibly this 22,415 area, as a resistance area, and then watch a pullback. If it gets past the 10 EMA, see if it can hold that 10 EMA and get this thing kind of turned around, right? Just get it turned around a little bit. If not, you can always, you can go back in time, way back, and you can see if things line up. So let's go to this top, and let's take it down to this low, and let's just see if we got any kind of cluster, right? Is there a 23.6? It's a 29,175, so that's longer term out. So, yeah, we'll just go ahead and I'll put that on there. Because you never know. Things can always run a lot higher than you think they will. But anyway, that's a good starting point. You know what I mean? A good starting point. And just see if it can hold that lower Bollinger Band and try to work things back to the upside. If not, could pull back into this range and ride down a little bit and then turn. But stochastic RSI was down at the bottom. So, doesn't look too horrible to me. Not bad at all. Let's go to DGB. And, I mean, look at this. I mean, it's just like, you talk about consolidation, okay, right at the lows. And, I mean, it's just like it has this brick wall down here at 71. It's like somebody is really interested around that area. It's just a matter if it can break through. The one thing I like about DGB's chart is when you see these moving averages, like the 200 and the 233, right? And this is a daily chart. When you look at something and you see that price is so far away and it's in a steep decline like this, right? That just means it's going to take a long time to turn this thing around. Well, we're getting now to a point where, and I mentioned this, where these moving averages are within striking distance. Okay? And so you could see something like it just creep its way up here. There may be a wild spike out of nowhere that just breaks this, but then consolidate a little bit and then turn these moving averages around. See, the first thing you have to do is get the smaller ones going in the right direction to be able to break through this and then hook it around and get it going into an uptrend, right? You want the 200 and the 233 to be either flat or curling up, and that signifies that your trend has changed. Okay? So that's what I've got on DGB. I still like it, still love it. So anyway, that's what I got on that one. Any questions on DGB? All right. Let's go look at XTZ. The thinking here, and there it is. It did a doji. Okay, and that's what I was thinking last night when I was looking at it. It's just amazing how this plays out. So I had a fib cluster up here. You've got this resistance over here, which was a high. I just extended a horizontal ray over so I could see it. Yeah, I will, Todd. Absolutely. Give me just 1 minute to finish XTZ, and I'll do that. But horizontal ray, drew that across. Fib cluster up here. So you had major confluence of resistance right in this area. So, and especially after a breakout, right? So you're looking at next retracements and whatnot. But now you got this, and I'm going to zoom in, right? And this has to be watched, okay? But if you're in XTZ, you've got this big, and that is a perfect doji, right? I mean, perfect, absolutely perfect, almost like a doji star. So I will tell you this, for all you XTZ holders, if just keep an eye on this next candle, right? This, if it goes red and closes red, then you need to really pay attention because that is a reversal pattern. Okay? Potential reversal pattern. I've been watching for retraces on this, and usually a good area would be right back down to the 38.2 if it's very bullish. So, you know, either that or it holds the 10 EMA and this old resistance line right back here, right, which was resistance, which is now I put it in green as support, okay? Does that make sense? You break something that was resistance, it should be support. Okay, so keep an eye on that area, like the $63, 65 area, somewhere in there. Just keep an eye on that area, and if it drops that, then you're looking at a more, you know, deeper retracement. Okay, probably back into the 38.2, or even eventually down into this area, and then you start looking at right over here, $1.43. But we're not there yet. Okay, I'm just saying you got to put your stop losses in place, and if you was in this thing, you should be trailing up a stop loss so that it'll protect you and you can make your money, right? So anyway, that's XTZ. Keep an eye on that one. And that'll be a good bounce play too. If it really starts to correct, you know what I mean? If it really starts to pull back deep, this thing's been on fire, right? So these people aren't going away. They're going to look for an entry price somewhere. So that'll be a good bounce at some point. Okay, so let's go to NEO, USD. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Please forgive my sniffles and all that. I cannot shake this cold. Okay, so NEO. It's been a while since I looked at this one, so let me make sure everything's okay. I know that line is good. I think I'm still going to keep that fib in there. It didn't go below that. So let me do this. Yeah, that still looks good. Let me put that in there as a green support. Bollinger Band's getting tight. It's pretty much going to go the same way Bitcoin does. You know what I mean? In my opinion. Nothing has changed as far as the retracements. And it's holding above the 78.6 retracement, which, you know, could it still leak down a little bit and come into here? Possibly. But, you know, why take that risk? You know, I mean, if you're long this thing, then put your stop loss, you know, back down into here somewhere. You know, if it gets below 750, then I would start worrying, right? Because if it breaks the 78.6, it's coming down and it's going to test these lows. And if those lows break, then it's going to come all the way back down to, $4? $4.84? In the fours. But that hasn't happened, right? We're still holding, you know, it made a higher high here, came down, you know, broke those lows over there, which I didn't want to see, but it is what it is. But it's just holding this 78.6, and the Bollinger Bands are getting tight. So you're going to have to pay attention, be strategic, you know, where you want your stop loss to be if some big, huge move happens. I mean, I don't know where you got in or anything like that, but just pay attention. Don't take your eyes off the ball. I mean, I still like it though. Look at this. See, this is what I'm talking about. The 200 and the 233 are flat, right? They're not really curling down or hooking up. You know, NEO could just break right above that and get things going in an uptrend. This thing could break out. But it also could break down, you know. I can't predict that. It's hard to. I mean, if you want my guess, I would say that it probably comes back up and tests the red line right up here at 10.15. That's my guess, and possibly even close to $11. That would be my educated guess. Okay, any other chart requests or anything else you guys want to look at? I mean, while we're on here, oh, you're welcome, Todd. My pleasure, buddy. While we're on here, let's go look at, I mean, obviously this had to be brought up. Yeah, Abram. Yeah, I'll check out RVN. Let's take a look at this just real quick, though. And RVN is going to be very similar. But this is why you can't get too greedy, right? You can't get too greedy about stuff, right? Here is, and that's obvious. This is Matic on a daily chart. And what happened back in here, just, it can happen to anything, right? So that's why you don't fall in love with something, okay? I know everybody wants to they want to try to make $1 million and they want it fast and, whatever. But it doesn't work that way. You have to compound your profits. Yeah, I'll look at all those guys. Absolutely. Let me finish up on Matic and my thoughts real quick. But anyway, this is why I put my trading plan into place, because I've seen stuff like this happen before, right? This is like penny stock stuff. You get consolidation, you get a big boom, everybody FOMOs into it, and then all of a sudden somebody pulls the chair in a musical chair game, and that's what happens, right? Somebody gets left holding the bag. And so what happens? All these people that got trapped up in here that were buying up here and didn't have stop losses, well, guess what? They're selling out. They're either selling out, they're averaging down, or they're going to wait until it starts getting up into here and they're going to sell out. So this just becomes resistance, right? All that now becomes resistance. And that's why I was saying, don't expect a big, it just doesn't happen. That it doesn't happen in this game. You don't get a big reversal like that, after a big drop. You don't get one that comes right back. It's very rare. So anyway, if you're in Matic and you're stuck, I'm sorry. I guess the best thing you could do is just, I don't know. I mean, it's just hard to say. If you didn't have a stop loss, it's just really hard to tell you. It really is. I don't have the words. I mean, unless you're wanting to hold it for a long, long time. I mean, it could be well into the middle of next year before this thing starts getting back up into here. And I could be totally wrong, but I don't think I am. Okay, let's move on. RVN. Same sort of scenario, although not as bad as Matic on a percentage basis. It had that big move. It got up into the 233 and this old, area over here of resistance, hit that, and then got sold off. So somebody was dumping up in here, just waited. So I don't know if this is like a pump and dump type of deal. I mean, we'll see. I don't know too much about Raven to be able to give a, idea about it. But a good start for Raven would be to get back above all this right here. That's your 10, 20, and 50 EMAs. Just get back above those, and then you could start to maybe climb up a little bit higher, and then we'll see. But obviously getting back above, let's call it 422 is going to be your, that erases all that big breadstick right there. So it could be more chop, more sideways. I mean, we saw what it did back here. I mean, it went sideways for a good month before it finally pumped. So it could be another month, right? It could just go sideways again and then make another pump. So let's just see what happens on that one. That's my thoughts on RVN. Okay, let's go look at Nano. Let's see. Todd, did you want I guess it's the US, do you want BTC or USD version? Let's see, I don't even think I have the BTC. Is it USD? Oh, okay, yeah, USD. I think I had that one in here at some point. Maybe I didn't. I thought I had that one. Let's go look at Nano. Okay, so this is the daily. Wow, okay. Let's go. I just want to go back and look at the weekly real quick. I want to see where it came from. Oh my gosh. So the original the opening was, golly, $26, and it's now down to $78. Okay. All right, so let's go back into the daily. All right, so let's draw some fibs. Let's see where we're at. Let's do this first. Okay, so you got that support, and you've got that support. And let's draw some fibs to the upside. Let's get this out of the way. 23.6 is broke. 38 broke. 50 broke. Okay, so 61.8 is our resistance on the button. Okay. So we've got that. Let's scroll in a little bit and let's do... Yeah, totally agree, Ricky. It's going to be interesting. I think pretty much it's going to follow what Bitcoin does, in my opinion. Okay, so let's look at this and see if we get anything that lines up. That's already broken that. Okay, so 38.2 was the killer on this one. Okay, so getting past 82 cents is going to be your area to watch. Again, I think Nano is going to... It may follow the lead of Bitcoin. As much as I hate to say it, but, you know, things are going to kind of... And on the USD version it will. So this may not be too bad. Bollinger Bands are getting tight, right? There's a range in here and it's getting tighter. See how wide apart it was when things started to come down? Things are starting to consolidate. It may consolidate a little bit more. Stochastic RSI is oversold, but we've seen it over here. It can get oversold, but then it can get oversold even more and make a bottom, right? So let's look at the bottom side fibs and let's see where it's kind of holding at as far as support. And let's do this. Let's go ahead and take that out. All right, so it broke the 38.2, the 50, and 61.8. Okay, there we go. Much better. Okay, so here's what you got. 78.6, right? And I hate to keep harping on it, but the 78.6 is a very important Fibonacci retracement, right? So if it's going to reverse, it needs to reverse off this, right? It needs to reverse off that. So, and you got your lower Bollinger Band, which is now above the 78.6. So, and these moving averages are getting really kind of bunched in here. So maybe another couple of days or so, and then let's see if it can break through that, right? And it may do it tomorrow, for all I know. I mean, but we'll see. We've seen it oversold and then come down and make another low. Let's see if it can hold that 78.6, right? So if you're in this trade, I don't know if you're long it yet, but if you're long, then your stop loss ought to be probably just below that 78.6. You know what I'm saying? Because if it breaks that, it's going to come down and test 68. You know what I'm saying? That's almost a given. If it breaks the 78.6, it's going to come and retest this low. And then if that low breaks, it's going to test that low. Or in that area. Like real close to it. So that's what I've got on Nano. Excuse me. Okay, did I forget any other chart? Algo. Excuse me, guys. Oh my gosh, there's stuff in my chest. Oh, you're welcome, Todd. All right, let's see if I had algo. Algo USD. Here we go. Oh goodness. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so let me do this. Let's see. I'm almost guessing that right up in here was probably the 127.2. I don't know that for a fact, but eyeballs are telling me that. Amazing. It's amazing when you work with fibs all the time. You almost kind of know where it's going to be, where resistance is. Isn't that amazing, guys? I mean, it's just fibs are a wonderful thing. They really are. Okay, so I drew it from this high to this low, and what killed it right here, or what was resistance, was the 127.2. That's a reversal area. But now what do we do? So now we know that that's a good top, right? That's a good local top. So now let's go and do, let's see how I want to do that. I'd probably have to go out to a shorter time frame to be able to see it. I'll do it here. Let's say bottom to top. And let's throw on some fibs. 38.2, that's already broke that. 50%. Okay, so that's where it's kind of hanging out at the 51 or 50% retracement. Excuse me. All right, so there's one, right? Let's go back and see if from this low over here to this high does anything. And let's see if maybe we've got a 38.2 hanging close there. No, it's the 50, I think. Yeah, it is. Okay. So it's holding on to a 50% retracement here. It's not really a fib cluster, but it's close to right in here at 25-ish. And then bigger support is down here around the 23 to 20, high 22 cent area. But obviously, if it can hold the 50 EMA right here and then potentially get back above the 10, that would be a good thing. I mean, but you see the Bollinger Bands are curling back in and working toward each other. This could just go tight for another couple of days or so, and then you're going to get a decision one way or the other. So that's just my opinion. But it doesn't look bad. I mean, I wouldn't be rushing right into it just yet. I mean, if you wanted to be really risky, you could, but I would make sure to have a stop loss on this one. Because for all we know, this whole pattern right here could be just a bear flag, right? Right there. Could just be a bear flag. Because you got this big, huge drop, right? And then you got like higher high, higher high, higher low. That is almost textbook of a bear flag. So this could just drop lower, right? But you want to see, obviously you want to see it hold this low down here. That's why I'm saying I don't know that I would rush into this just yet. So anyway, just be careful. Always have your stop losses. Yeah, you can always play a bounce for sure. Absolutely. You know, just pick out your area where you know or think that the bounce might come from. So if you wanted to wait until it got to, because I would almost bet you that it would probably bounce off that lower Bollinger Band. I mean, you probably may not get a lot off of it, but it's worth a risk. You know? Okay. What what else? I was going to talk about something else too. Let's go back to. I wanted to look at. I think it was back on Matic again. I just wanted to kind of go over this. No, it wasn't Matic. Which one was it? Was it Vet? Vet's one that I said last night to keep an eye on. But here we go. Yeah, this is what similar to DGB in a way, right? And I'm not saying this is what DGB can do or will do, although longer term I think it will. But notice on the 200 and 233-day moving averages, see when they start going down, price goes down, and then once it starts to level off, you see how it starts to get within striking distance. If price levels off and the 233 and the 200 are right there, look what happens. It bounces, goes through, right? So now what happens? You get a potential change in trend, right? From such a long bearish downtrend to a bullish one. So now these are starting to go flat, okay? These are starting to go flat. Yeah, we're getting a retrace off this. But what I want to see now, and look where the stochastic RSI is. It's down at the lows, right? So now what do I want to see? I want to see if it can hold the lower Bollinger Band and the 50 EMA. Even though you get your 10, your 20 crossing, who cares? Those can cross right back real quick like. The 50 EMA is hooking up and screaming up. That is going to be big time support. Okay? And it should be support. If this is going to be a very bullish chart. So that's why I'm saying keep a very close eye on VET. Okay? This one could turn into a longer term, really good play if you're willing to do that. But these are the things I like to see. I mean, when I see these 200 and 233s, that just changes the trend. So instead of just playing a short-term bounce into resistance, now you're buying the dips into support, right? So keep an eye on VET. And that's why I'm saying keep an eye on DGB, because if it does something like that, then that changes the whole narrative of what might happen in the future. Okay? What else? What's good? Oh, hey, what's up, Andy? How you doing? And sorry, I didn't mean to babble on, but I just think that's a good training deal for you guys. If you don't have and it doesn't have to be both of those moving averages, right? It could be just one of them. I just like having both of them in there so I can, because they're both, they're both good to watch. But you could have either one of them, the 200 or the 233, if you don't want to have too much stuff on your chart. Let's see. Here's another one I really like. BAT. I think this one could be one of those. It's another one of those that, the 200, 233 are right in striking distance. It tried it once right here. If it can try it again and get through, this thing could run. Okay? And it's made a higher low. So BAT, and not only that, but the moving averages are all right bunched close to each other right here. So this thing could, just drift a little in this area until the first of the year, and then we'll see if it can make higher highs. The one I was talking about, Todd, it was VET, and I'll type it in channel. VET, BET, or BTC pair. And I think I've got maybe a small token of it somewhere. It's not much to speak about, but it's definitely one that I'm thinking about re-entering some, for a trade. Haven't done it yet, but it's one that's on watch list. If I do, then I'll put a call on the channel. But anyway, BAT. So anyway, going back to BAT. So if I go up here and I do some fibs on this one, let's go here to here. So right around the 78.6 is what it's trying to hold. It broke a little bit below, that's fine. I mean, things aren't going to be just totally perfect when you're based on pennies and stuff like that. So holding in this area, and then we'll want to see if that's the bottom. If the bottom, then we'll come up here and let's just do a fib retracement and look on the high side. Important levels to get through. All right. So obviously the first one is getting past, what is that? Getting past 20 cents. That's probably going to be the first area. Bollinger Bands are going to get probably really tight here in the next 2 to 3 days. They're already starting to work that way. But this is another one to watch, BAT, because it can move fairly well when it wants to. Similar to, I think, ZRX. And speaking of ZRX, look at this. It's just, there's big time support at that 78.6, right there at 21 cents. So it either breaks that and just craters down to here, which I say crater is probably like, 3 cents? Or even potentially down to here. Or it holds this area and bounces through and gets past the 200 and 233. But there's a ton of resistance right in this area. Multiple fib clusters. We'll see. I don't hate ZRX. I don't hate it. It's just a matter of this 78.6 if that can hold. All right. Any other chart requests or questions? Otherwise, I'll just kind of babble on a little bit. I've got a little bit here. Let's go look at Link. Looked good. Bounced back up. I was really thinking it might hold the 10 EMA. Hasn't yet, but we'll see. I mean, Bollinger Bands are starting to get tight on it too, so another one to potentially watch. LTC, Litecoin. Again, nothing's changed on this chart. It's actually still trying to hold that 127.2 area. And golly, the more I look at some of these charts, they're all seeming to hold like the 78.6 or the 127.2. So who knows? We may be getting ready to go into a short-term bull here on some stuff, which would be actually nice for everybody. XRP BTC. And again, much like, and here we go, much like not Bitcoin, but Digibyte and what VET did. VET broke all this, but this looks pretty good. I mean, within striking distance of the 200 and 233, it's right there. And look how tight these Bollinger Bands are. I mean, that is getting like pinched really hard. Okay? And let's see, if I was to do a fib retracement, I think this is probably an old one. No, it's not an old one. That's where it stopped, was 38.2. Let's do this from, didn't catch it right. Let's go. There we go. From that bottom to here, and I'm pretty sure that's the 61.8, which I didn't have in there, I don't think. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's holding the 61.8 right there. Okay, holding that 61.8. That's like a magnet. 1, 2, 3, right in there. So that, what, 2905, I guess? Yeah. I mean, this is one of those that could just, like, and that's why I've got the call on it, right? Especially on my USD. But I just feel like it's going higher based on that inverted head and shoulders. It's not really evident on the BTC pair. But again, it's made the nice move here, and it's made a higher low. Okay? And even on the dip, and then it bounced a little bit, it's still holding that low. So as long as it can hold that, things look really good. And it could just churn just a little bit more, but something's got to give here pretty soon. Let's see. Freezing, yeah. I mean, possibly. Very possible. Todd, let me look at EOS on the USD pair. EOS. Let me see. Okay, that still holds. That's valid. And that retrace. Yeah, that retrace still. So nothing's really changed on EOS from the last time I did it. Basically stuck between the 78.6 retracement on the high side and support down at the 161.8 on the low side. So, and again, Bollinger Bands are very tight. Okay? And we see what happens when they get tight, right? They get tighter. They get tight. That's when you get moves, right? But I'm going to say this, okay? And this is something you guys really need to pay attention to. Okay? So we know at some point, we know at some point that price is going to break out one way or the other, okay? Either bull or bear. You can play it both ways, okay? You can either try to play the breakout, or if things drop, what happens when price gets outside of the Bollinger Bands? And you can do this on any chart. You know, my recommendation would be that you take it from a 1 hour chart and up. You know, probably not anything less than that, unless you're just a very fast scalping type person that's not really interested in, you know, a bigger type of move. But if it was to drop real hard, then those Bollinger Bands are going to start spreading out, and price is just going to, there's going to be a avalanche that's going to happen, right? Because stops are going to get taken out. People are going to FOMO. Or either scared, panic. You can play it both ways, but sometimes most of the best trades are when something gets outside of the Bollinger Bands, right? You could sit there and take a risk on something that's, you know, inside the Bollinger Bands, right? But you're guessing. I mean, now you could sit there and have your percentages and say, well, I know that if it's at the 127.2, then normally it's going to bounce off that. Well, sometimes it doesn't. What you could do is you could wait until like right over here, right? See how they got tight? They got pinched. Bollinger Bands are tight. And then price does a head fake. It goes outside the Bollinger Band, right? Like in here. but it doesn't stay outside the Bollinger Band. It goes back higher. It reverses. Okay? So you can play it that way. Just when things get out, and I could point to numerous occasions. Right here, it was outside the Bollinger Bands. Boom, goes higher. Outside the Bollinger Bands. Not as big of a bounce, but it went higher. Outside the Bollinger Bands, goes higher. And it goes in reverse. Outside the Bollinger Bands, pulls back in. Didn't quite get outside the Bollinger Bands there. Outside the Bollinger Bands, pulls back in and goes sideways. So watch the Bollinger Bands very, very closely. Okay? They will help you not to FOMO, especially not to FOMO. Or, for that matter, to even panic. Just remember that. I'm going to type it in the channel. Price does not stay outside of the Bollinger Bands for very long. Drill it into your head, guys. I tell you, it'll save you a lot of money. And then, if you can combine that with your fib retracements, right? If you got fib retracements going on your charts, and you punch those in, and if you see something outside the Bollinger Bands and it approaches a fib retracement line, like a major one, then what's that tell you? Don't buy or don't sell. So anyway, that's kind of what I got there. But EOS, anyway, yeah, just stuck in a range. Just stuck in a range. And I like how it kind of bounced off this 20 right here on the stochastic RSI. It kind of didn't go oversold. So that could be potentially bullish right there, that it didn't go all the way into oversold territory. So this thing could put in it's one of those that could put in a big green stick at any given moment, based on news or what Bitcoin's doing or anything. Somebody could come along that has, thousands of subscribers in their paid channel, and hey, I'm buying this, and all of a sudden price goes crazy. So just something to keep an eye on. Okay, what else we got? Anything? Do you look at stocks? Anybody want me to do, let's see. I think I had SPX. Here's the S&P 500 chart. And I had done this a while back, and everybody, I think, probably called me crazy. But I was one of those that was thinking that we were going to make higher highs. Everybody was talking, financial collapse, yada, yada, or, whatnot. Oops, let me get that out of there. But all the while, the S&P 500 is coming up here, and now it's breaking the 161.8 retracement. So if you're in stocks or a 401k, you're looking pretty good. As it now looks like, let's do this. Let me get that out of there. There we go. Yeah, so the next resistance is going to be, let's do this. I think I drew that. Yeah, I did. I drew that from there to there. Let's go and do this. I always like to go back, and this is the fun part about Fibonacci, right? So I can draw. All right, let's do this. From that high to this low. And let's do, let's see, I'll take out that, and that. And it did break that. All right. So now what I've got is the next resistance on the S&P 500 is 3206. And if it breaks that, then it's going up here to 3290. So it could get, I mean, it looks like there may be a Santa Claus. There's not going to be any coal in the stockings possibly. But then again, I see a doji up here on the daily chart. And price outside Bollinger Bands. So, yeah, this thing could just like pull back into here, 31.45, and then just kind of inch higher, be boring as hell. That's the thing about bull charts, is that you see something like this. Once price comes outside Bollinger Bands, then it pulls back in, and it just kind of goes higher. Stays inside the Bollinger Bands, just creeps higher. It just pisses bears off. They short, they have to cover. They short, they cover. You know, they may get a 1-2 day deal, and then they have to cover. It's just crazy. So, yeah. Anyway, the S&P looks good. We may have a short-term top up here around, 3206, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, questions, guys. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ramble about the S&P, but any other questions or chart requests? Oh, I had old dog coin in there. Let me look at that. Yeah, I may take dog coin out of there. I really thought dog coin would run a lot higher at some point. But I think that ship has sailed. All right. Fun question. My wildest prediction for 2020 crypto. Wildest. Oh my goodness. Things in charts always seem to change, like day to day. And everybody can always come up with a long-term, or try to, a long-term prediction. It doesn't mean it's always going to happen. Let's do this just for giggles and grins. Let's go. Let me switch back over to this. Let me do this. Because usually you have to look at it like a monthly chart to be able to get an idea of what something may do. So let's go look at, that's Bitcoin on the daily. Look at the weekly. So when I look at this, oh boy, and I had this divergence right here on the weekly chart, right? On the stochastic RSI. If Bitcoin can hold this area and break this wedge, then I think that the year 2020 is just going to be a fantastic year. I really do. And I think it's got the potential to, and let's just project out, right? Because I don't think this is going to be like even though we did have a parabolic right here, but we had a nice bottoming formation down here, right? Which kind of helped things and holding the 200 and 233. There is a sneaking chance, and I hate to say this, right? But we could see Bitcoin drop all the way down to here, 53.85, and retest that 200-day moving average and the bottom part of the wedge before it takes off. All right? That would really throw people off. Right? So somewhere in January, before it finally bottomed out and then took off. And I say that's not my wildest prediction. But my wildest prediction would be that, and it's not too wild. I see people talking about 50,000 on Bitcoin. And I just don't see that. I just don't see that in 2020. I really don't. I'm just being logical and, everything about it. It would take something massive to happen. DGB, no, not $14. Wildest prediction, though? DGB at, and let's call it, how about 20 cents? How about 20 cents for 2020? How's that? I think 20 cents would be that's a wild ass prediction right there for you. How's that? Yep. Which would be very cool. I mean, we would all take that. Another wild prediction. How about XRP hitting $1? How about XRP hitting $1 in sometime in 2020? That's another wild ass prediction. How about Litecoin? I don't think Litecoin's ever going to see the highs again. How's that? I don't think Litecoin's going to ever hit the previous highs again. There's a wild ass prediction. I mean, unless Charlie Lee does something very, very special, I don't see that happening. What else? I think that's pretty much it. I can't really think of anything else just off the top of my head that wild prediction wise that would how about, I'll tell you what, how about this? And of course, like I say, I've only got like a minuscule portion of it, but how about VET? It's at 81 right now. Here's a wild ass prediction. How about it's at 81 sats? I'll tell you, how about it hits 200 sats by, let's call it April? Maybe March? That's a double from now. That's a little over a double. That's a wild ass prediction. So anyway, that's kind of my wild ass predictions. You guys have anything else you want me to look at or talk about? Is there anything chart wise or Fibonacci wise, anything you guys don't understand or want me to go over? And feel free, guys. Trust me, there is no such thing as a stupid question. Never. The only stupid thing is not asking the question. All right, guys, I'm going to give it a 2-minute call. 2-minute call. Let's go back and look at, let's see, do you have Bitcoin up? Bitcoin just churning away. You're welcome, Friesen. Thank you, buddy. You have a good evening. Sleep well, man. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. I'm going to go get some rest, and hope you guys have a good weekend. I will check in, obviously, in the channel. I'll be around for just a little while, and good luck if you guys are trading, and we'll chat soon. Y'all take care. Thanks again.